Hey there! Welcome back to another episode of Learning from Lin Dan. Today we're going to look at how Lin Dan covers a push serve return, basically when he serves and the opponent pushes either at him or at a corner. Also, thank you Cody for suggesting this video. Before we start, I want to point out that Lin Dan is playing at the highest level of badminton. The shots that he and his opponents choose to hit will be a lot different than the shots that we hit at our level. So I'd say watch this video just for fun, and don't take it too seriously and try to copy him because different skill levels require different strategies. When doing research for this video, I noticed that Lin Dan's opponents don't actually drive back his serves that often. Most of the time, his opponents hit a net shot back or do an attack lift. I have a few possible explanations. First, Lin Dan's serves are low and fast, which make it hard for the opponent to get a high contact point to do a flat push. You can see that even though his opponent is rushing in, the contact point of the bird is still below the height of the net. Second, imagine you're playing Lin Dan. If your shot is too low and within his reach, Lin Dan is going to smack it straight down. Even Taufik fell victim to this. That's why pros probably need to hit outside his range by hitting over him, therefore not really hitting back a drive, but more of an attack lift. Third, a related point to that reason is that Lin Dan serves toward the center. This further limits the opponent and gives them less angles to work with. If they were to push too much to the side, they will hit out. If they push too low, Lin Dan will cut it off. This therefore limits the opponent to have to hit to the corner with an attack lift, at a height where Lin Dan can't cut it off. With that being said, I did find a few clips where his opponents try to push back his serve. Let's see what happens. In this first clip, Lin Dan serves on the even side and his opponent pushes to Lin Dan's backhand. Lin Dan quickly turns his body, raises his arm, and snaps the birdie back down. There are a few small details here. Notice how as Lin Dan turns his body and raises his arm, his elbow goes up, but his racket stays down. This is where he gets the power from for the shot, as he winds back his forearm. Then, his racket and forearm quickly snap up and he hits the shuttle. Throughout this process, you can see his forearm supinating or rotating outward/clockwise, with his wrist finishing the shot. Also notice how as he is about to hit the shot, his body continues to rotate counterclockwise towards the back, opening up his chest. This extra rotation probably helps him generate even more power within this short span of time. In this next clip, you can see Lin Dan in the same scenario against Taufik, except instead of using his backhand, he used his overhead form. I'm not going to look too deeply into his choice of using an overhead here, because it might just be because he was anticipating a certain shot or that he was more serious against Taufik and hitting back an overhead would allow him to get back to the center faster and cover more shots. What do you think? In this third clip, Taufik hits the same shot and Lin Dan uses his backhand to drop it back. It's a safe shot compared to a drive because it gives Lin Dan time to get back to the center and get ready for the next shot. If he were to hit back a fast drive instead, Taufik would return back with a fast shot, probably to the other side of the court. Lin Dan would be in a bad spot in that case because his back would be facing the net and he'd have to quickly turn and scramble to the next shot. Even during the rallies, Lin Dan always dropped back pushes to his backhand and never hit a drive back. In these next three clips, when Taufik drives to Lin Dan's backhand, Lin Dan chooses to flick it over Taufik into his backcourt. This is really effective because Taufik is watching the front and expecting a flat shot. By hitting over him to the back, Taufik can't cut it off and actually has to move back to hit the shot. And in this clip, Taufik decides to drive to Lin Dan's body, which Lin Dan drives back, which starts the drive battle. At this point in the match, the score was very tight, at 19-20, and both players were trying to pile on the pressure and speed up the pace. Otherwise, I feel like Lin Dan would have just dropped back the initial push. Interesting, right? And that was all when Lin Dan serves from the backhand. On the forehand side, things are pretty interesting too. First, I'd like to point out again that most of Taufik's shots to the back were attack lifts that went over Lin Dan's reach. This prevents Lin Dan from cutting it off. Notice the height of the shuttle. Now, the interesting thing I found was that in the few instances where I did find Lin Dan's opponents pushing the serve to his forehand, instead of jumping up and cutting it off, Lin Dan instead runs to the back and clears it back from a late and off-balance position. I'm actually not sure why Lin Dan doesn't cover that position better. My guesses are that he's confident that even if he's late, he can still get a quality clear, drop, cross drop, or drive from that position. He might also not cover that position because he knows the opponent isn't as likely to hit a drive to his forehand side, and if they do, he'll start to anticipate that spot more. I'm not sure why his opponents don't do this more too, but again, it's probably because they'd rather not have him cut it off. If executed poorly, they would rush up to drive back his serve, and Lin Dan would whip it cross court, causing the opponent to scramble to get it back. Or Lin Dan immediately cuts it off and smacks it back down, as we saw earlier to Toffee. And that's it for this episode. After hearing my thoughts, what do you think? Do you agree? Or do you think the pros play this way for another reason? At the end of the day, I think the moral of the story is that the more options you have when you hit a shot, and the bigger your reach is, the more you constrain your opponent's options. Also, I think this highlights why there are some things we shouldn't copy from the pros. For example, at the professional level, it might not be a good idea to drive back your opponent's serve, but at our level, when we push flat, the opponent might not be quick enough to cut it off. Anyway, thanks again to Cody for suggesting this video. If there's a topic you want me to make a video for, please leave it in the comments below or fill out the survey which I'll leave in the description. Also, if you enjoy these videos, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.